This is pitiful. 1,000 people freezing their butts off waiting to worship a rat. What a hype. Groundhog Day used to mean something in this town. They used to pull the hog out and they used to eat it. You're hypocrites. All of you. You got a problem with what I'm saying, Gabe? Untie your tongue. You come out here and talk, huh? And am I upsetting you, princess? You know, you want a prediction about the weather? You're asking the wrong Nick. I'll give you a winter prediction. It's gonna be cold. It's gonna be gray. And it's gonna last you for the rest of your life.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
You can't handle the truth. King Kong ain't got shit on me. I am the third revolution.
I am so much crazier than you.
I am the one who knocks.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Nice thing, big boy, huh? That's Brock. Fucking
Everybody on? Good. Great. Grand. Wonderful.
Okay, campers, rise and shine, and don't forget your booties, because it's gonna be cold out there today.
It's cold out there every day. What is this, Miami Beach?
Not hardly, and you can expect hazardous travel later today with that, that blizzard thing.
That blizzard thing? That blizzard thing? Oh, well, here's the report. The National Weather Service is calling for a big blizzard thing.
Yes, they are, but there's another reason why today is especially exciting.
Especially cold.
Especially cold, okay, but the big question on everybody's lips.
On their chapped lips.
On their chapped lips, right. Do you think Phil is going to come out and see his shadow?
Punxsutawney Phil!
That's right, Woodchuck Chuckers. It's Groundhog Day
versus Palm Springs. This is Facing Off, a podcast where we take two movies that we find to be similar in some way and we compare, contrast, and rate them. My name is Gabe, and this is Nick. What's up, Nick?
Hey, man.
Hey, dude.
I just saw my shadow.
Yeah, did you get stuck in a time loop today and every day?
No.
I was wondering why you were so good at that intro. Maybe you had a lot of practice. Yeah, what's up, dude? We are going to do these two movies. I don't know if you have any shout-outs.
Sounds so excited about that.
I mean, I'm like so fucking pumped for these two movies. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode.
Well, we are all kind of stuck in a time loop.
These movies are really relevant right now. So.
Yeah.
Why don't you hit us with the synopses since unless you got a shout-out or something.
I don't have to shout anybody out.
Thank you, Layla, for being on last week.
I have a quick question. Yeah, thank you to Layla.
And for sharing.
Layla's the best.
Yeah.
Would you eat your groundhog?
Yeah, if it was cooked right. Why wouldn't I?
You're right, me too.
Yeah.
Groundhog Day is the story of smarmy weatherman Phil Connors, who is doomed to relive the same day, February 2nd, Groundhog Day in Puxtahanny, Pennsylvania. During his time repeating the same day, he experiences all 5 stages of grief. All the while, he attempts to seduce his producer Rita, fails, becomes depressed, tries to kill himself a bunch, fails to kill himself, learns to play the piano, learns to ice sculpt, becomes somewhat of a doctor, but fails to save the life of a homeless man, and then eventually, after becoming a much, much better person, he and Rita fall in love, and the two of them wake up together on February 3rd.
Yes. That comes after 2nd.
Why were you making that face?
I don't know. Yeah, I thought it would be funny if I made a face the whole time
mild
you did
indigestion
it.
from
Like
the
I
tacos.
was confused at what was happening. These are confusing.
I got taco indigestion. Sorry, okay. Palm
Save
Springs.
some for the audience.
Yum. Palm Springs is the city I was born in, and also the story of Niles, who, when we meet him, is a jarringly aloof wedding guest. He and the bride's sister, Sarah, hook up, but Niles is shot by an arrow and escapes into a glowing cave. He tells Sarah not to follow him, but she does, and then she wakes up the next day on the same day that she woke up that
the day before. Yeah.
To learn that Niles has also been reliving the same wedding day over and over for what seems like years, and now she is doomed to do the same. The two fall in and out of love over time, in air quotes. Time is in air quotes, because time is nothing to them anymore, and it's nothing to us anymore. And they cannot die or wake up the next day no matter how good they are to others or how many times they get hit by a truck. We establish that the loop that they are in is not a karmic loop. That's important. Niles reveals that there is one other wedding guest, Roy, the man with the arrow, who is also stuck in the loop, the bow and the arrow. And Sarah and Niles engage in months of debauchery, I think, until Roy shows up again to try and wreak havoc, and Sarah sends him to the ER with severe internal bleeding. Sarah then disappears after Niles reveals that they've had sex in lots of other loops. Niles learns that Sarah slept with the groom, her sister's husband now, but he cannot find her for multiple loop days on end. Eventually, she does resurface after Niles has learned from Roy. Then he needs to be enjoying his life as much as he can, no matter what that life is. He realizes that he does really love Sarah, who reveals that she has disappeared in order to learn quantum physics, and they can now blow up the glowing cave right when they reset to wake up the next day. Niles agrees to do so, and the two profess their love for each other, choosing to attempt to wake up from the loop rather than live comfortably together within the loop.
Yeah.
The movie ends on the next day as the two have succeeded in escaping their doomed reality.
Yep. Well said. So we
Just
decided
like we
to do
will
these
someday
movies.
escape our doomed reality,
Yes,
right?
I don't know. It seems like it could go on forever. But yeah, the reason why we're doing these two movies, obviously, we're taking Groundhog Day, the original of this sort of time loop idea.
The time
in
loop
movies,
original.
And then one of the more recent, or I guess the most recent, iteration of Groundhog Day, and
the
a
only
really
movies.
pleasantly enjoyable one, which I won't spoil our ratings for. Yeah, and then also they just mirror what's going on with quarantine and
Yeah, how
isolation.
all of our
and
days
stuff.
mean nothing, and time is a flat circle.
Flat circle. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's break them down using the 5. Are you freaking facers? Are you ready for our facing off 5?
The Fantastic Five.
It is where we take
Fantastic
5
Mr.
different
Five.
categories and we use a rating scale of 1 to 7 on each of those categories. 1 being lowest, 7 being highest, 4 being middlest, average, neutral, or in between. Our 5 categories today are our comedy categories because, these are funny movies. We're going to start with spectac, hilarity, then hit you with acting and originality, and then legacy, and then quotability / rewatchability, which
All
we
right.
think is great for analyzing comedies.
Let's pull the hog out and let's
eat it. All right. Spectac, hilarity is where we talk about the engagement level of the movie and how well balanced the comedy is. It's a mathematical equation, laughs per minute. Did it keep you interested in the movie the whole way through? Let's start with Groundhog Day, an absolute classic film starring Bill Murray
and Andy McDowell.
and Annie McDowell. Yeah.
She's famous, right?
She became more famous afterwards.
True. All right, so spectacularity, I am torn here. This is the first time that I have ever seen Groundhog Day. I know I missed the boat. I think a lot of the movies I watched when I was a kid were movies that my dad really liked, and I don't know that he loves Groundhog Day.
That's absurd.
He might. He mostly falls asleep during movies. It might have... There's a definite pattern to movies that he likes. They're definitely movies that came out before I was born. So AKA when he slept more.
Yeah.
Because then I think
True.
after I was born, he just kind of
couldn't sleep as much.
didn't...
3 boys running around?
It
3
didn't-
giant boys
He
running
didn't
around.
stay awake enough. But anyways, I know Groundhog Day is the better of the two movies. I'm not going to debate that. I'm just not sure that it's the funnier of these two movies. And it could just be my comedic
I
sensibility.
think it's a different type of comedy.
Yeah, it's a different type of comedy, and it's also a different type of mystery. Because the movie doesn't Groundhog Day doesn't ask you to try and figure out what's happening.
No.
It doesn't present itself as a mystery, which is unique and wasn't apparently the case all the way through.
Yeah.
I think the movie would have been a lot different had they kept some of the ideas that I read about in there. And by different, I mean worse. If this category is spectacularity, I give it a 6. As spectacularity, I'm giving it a 5.
So that's funny. I actually think I would reverse that because I think this is really funny because it's an incredible Bill Murray performance and he's great. I'll get into acting later. It would benefit from more funny characters, as Palm Springs has, but I find it to be really funny. I think the issue is with the pacing of like comedies before the 2000s. They were just like, they took a while to get into the story. They, comedies have this whole like intro sequence back then, and has this like kind of wacky like 80s or 90s music. I don't think this movie will work for everyone to be engaged. I noticed that Julie wasn't very engaged during it. I mean, it could have been like the time that we were watching it.
Yeah.
But I would, when I'm watching it, I even felt skeptical, like, on my own, being like, oh, would other people like this? It's not as funny as I remember. But then when it becomes funny, it's really funny.
Yeah.
And it kind of holds that because Bill Murray is so good at playing just like a depressed, crazy lunatic.
This
asshole.
movie is just one time where television really fails to capture the true excitement of a large squirrel predicting the weather.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, if I was even talking about more about engagement, I think that because this movie has a lot more depth to it, it keeps you a little bit more engaged later on. So right when the movie starts to give you hope for Phil, the rug gets pulled out from underneath and it gets really dark, like significantly dark. The whole suicidal section is like really funny, but it's also very sad and very real. The homeless man section is like legitimately kind of makes you care about the movie a lot more and the characters. So I think that actually helps the spectacularity. And I just think that once it starts picking up, it's really fun. And I really like that they save the party scene for the end. They don't ever touch the Groundhog Day party until the very last scene. I just think they make you care about the movie as it goes along. So I'm going to give it a 5. Because I'll be objective here. For me, it's like a 6 or 7, but I would say for the average person, it's not. So I'll give it a 5.
Okay. I mean, they're still above average. This is still Groundhog Day. This is still
exactly. I just think comedies have changed.
Top 1,000 movies of all time, definitely.
Yeah,
and arguably top 100.
Yeah, I mean, out of comedies is one of them. I will get into it in originality, but it is like one of the most creative and classic films. Like people,
we're
really
not trying
love
to knock it, okay?
Yeah.
So
what about
give us a
Palm
call,
Springs?
Bill Simmons.
Yeah. Hey. Hey, Bill, Issa, don't get mad at us. Sean.
Just try not to do too many of the things that Rewatchables did while doing this episode, but I did doing an episode on Groundhog Day, but I did realize how much the Rewatchables and by the Rewatchables, I mean Bill Simmons, just goes to the trivia page on IMDb.
Yeah, it's just him going to the
all.
trivia page and then just talking about his life and his connection with the
what
movie.
We do.
How many fucking like helicopters and ambulances go by
Not
here?
that many.
Yeah. Let's talk about spectacularity with Palm Springs.
For Palm Springs, much more spectacular than the actual city, which is a boring, hot dump for most of the year. Palm Springs is the movie is extremely enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
Like way more than I even thought it was, and I'm like a big Andy Samberg Lonely Island stan. Mm-hmm. And I think it's particularly good for like a movie that's only released on like Hulu. And I know like it's mid-pandemic. So I don't know if it
did well at a festival.
Had plans. It did really well at Sundance.
Yeah,
made a ton of money at Sundance. Yeah. I just think it's really funny all the way through. They add the mystery element, like the sci-fi element that's missing from Groundhog Day, so it has a little bit more of a mystery element of like what really is going on here.
Missing like in a bad way from Groundhog Day, but it's like not in that plot.
It's not in Groundhog Day. It's not a unique take. It's a different take on the same kind of thing that Groundhog Day is.
Yeah.
Not that there's like more to the movie. I just think it is more consistently funny. It also helps that it's like 90 minutes long.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean,
so I gave it a 6.
I gave it a 6 as well. I think it is the
Wow.
more engaging of the two movies, even history not included. I just think it's really well crafted in terms of how funny it is and how much you care about the characters. I think it's really clever that they start with him already having been in the loop, because the first
Andy Samberg?
yeah, the first like 10 to 15 minutes are really weird, and we were watching it and I was like, what the hell's going on? And Nick's like, I think he's already in it, and he's been in it for a while. And I was like, oh, this makes sense after the speech.
Because that's why I wrote jarringly aloof. Like, it's so weird that the movie starts and he's just like at a wedding.
Well, this was what Groundhog Day was supposed to originally. The screenwriter for Groundhog Day was like, I want to start it where he's already been trapped in this loop and you have to slowly figure it out. And then Harold Ramis was like, no, I think it would be better if we really explain how much of a piece of shit this guy is beforehand.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Palm Springs is an interesting movie, and I don't want to like blow everything I'm going to say later about it now, so maybe we should move on. But
I had a lot to say in this category.
Okay, go.
Sure.
Keep going.
No. You talk for both of us.
Because, like, okay, so doesn't Palm Springs kind of seem like in the writer's room, they knew that it was Groundhog Day-esque, and they were like, what questions do you have about Groundhog Day, and how can we incorporate those questions into our story?
It's like fill in the blanks and make your own story. And they it was like, we want to make a wedding story about these two characters who just don't really want to be at this wedding and have problems.
Yeah, but then we also want to do this Groundhog Day thing, but we also want to do what Groundhog Day didn't and have it be like, have there be a reason and explain why this is happening, have it be sci-fi. But also, if you were stuck in there that long, wouldn't you start to forget things, and there'd be this kind of like creepy element of like, how much have you lost yourself?
Yeah, this
because
is what
there
I was
is a
gonna talk
little
about
bit
in
of that
originality.
in Niles, in Andy Samberg's character, where he's been in there so long that you don't know. And the writer said it's at least 40 years that Andy Samberg has been in there by the end of this movie.
But then there's like people online are going to be like, no, there's more and more, because that's what's so fascinating about Groundhog Day. And we could talk about that and the cleverness of the story. I also just think like with Palm Springs, what really works about it is there are a lot of montages, and in comedies, if montages are done well, they're very funny. And this one, there's the sex montage is so funny when he's like having sex with Daisy at the bar, but then he's like having sex with the guy, the black guy that I think he's like adopted brother or whatever.
There it is.
He's like, whoa, hey, there it is. And then when he lies about having sex with her dad, and they're like, what are we doing? He's like, I don't know. And it is an amazing moment. I think the torture scene is really funny. The montage with Roy fucking with him.
Yeah.
I think just in general, once Roy shows up at the beginning, you're like, oh, this is absurd. This is going to be an absurd movie. But then they kind of like ground it and make it like funny and not like overly, like once the bow and arrow, the arrow goes into him, you're like, oh fuck, like what kind of movie is this?
Roy is such a perfectly utilized character.
Oh, he's great. And then I just like, I love when they start having fun with it. Like the bar scene when they show up and they do the dancing, the dance thing, and they're flipping everyone off. The bomb and the cake scene is so funny. Niles, you son of a bitch! You ruined my plan. He's like, Sarah, the sister of the bride, and based on her foreign accent from origins unknown, I'll take her dead or alive. It's just like their chemistry is so funny. It becomes really funny when Cristin Milioti is like really part of it as Sarah.
Yeah,
I think it maybe hits one lull, and it's why I'm not gonna go to 7. I think when I really like this section where she learns quantum physics,
where she disappears,
but I do think that it like slows the movie down.
Yeah, we can talk about that in acting.
Yeah, let's move on. I mean, it's just the more engaging. So I'm gonna go with the 6. Nick went with the 6 as well. Let's talk about acting category where we break down the performances.
Oh, we forgot to say, Palm Springs just came out. You should go and watch it. Stop it now.
I mean, yeah, you should.
We take everything back. Don't have listened to this.
We already spoiled everything. Maybe watch things before listening.
We spoiled basically.
But we do appreciate having you around. If you haven't watched it and you don't want to watch it, I don't know why.
It's on Hulu. One of your friends has
I think
Hulu.
it's the most
Steal their Hulu.
enjoyable movie of the year so far.
Might be picture of the year by the end of all this.
No, it's not. There are plenty of better movies. So
Not true.
Next, we're going to talk about acting, category where we break down the performances and the acting and how good and funny the actors were, and then if the writers and directors
the writers and the directors
gave them the
W's
tools
and
that
the
they
D's.
needed to perform at the best of their abilities. Why don't you start with Palm Springs acting?
Okay, so building off of what you were just saying about, is it Christine or Christina?
Cristin Milioti.
Cristin, why don't you ring in, let us know, send us an email, let us know how to pronounce your first name.
Oh, please. And if you want to go out sometime, I would really like that.
I think she has a husband.
If you want to go out sometime, I would really like that.
Your husband can hang out with me.
Hey, if you want to go out sometime. All right, go ahead.
She carries the movie.
Definitely.
Hard. Because, like, I love Andy Samberg. He's doing his thing in this, which is generally just sort of unremarkable but really funny, is just like his thing.
I find it pretty remarkable what he does. Like in the first scene where he's like going through the wedding and messing with her, and he like has the guy's drink and puts his hand. It's like,
oh yeah,
his physical comedy is really good, and his like face makes it so funny.
But he's just like, he is not the focal point of the movie for a long portion of, for once Sarah like gets into the loop with him.
Yeah, he's not part of the like moral dilemma of the movie.
Not really.
Until later.
He is, because he's the one with the real arc. Like, he really does change, but so does Sarah. I just don't think he is the one that carries the movie. Cristin Milioti is. J.K. Simmons is great. Cristin?
Yeah.
What did I just say?
Christine.
Dude, I don't know what her name is. Doesn't matter. J.K. Simmons is great in his kind of small role, but Milioti is why it's a 5 and not a 4 for me.
Yeah, I actually have it at a 6, weirdly, for comedies, because I think that there's something really effective about what they both bring to it. I think this is one of the funnier Andy Samberg roles, and he kind of, he doesn't need to, but he kind of digs a little deeper than that. Like, you really understand this character and what he's going through, and I think that he portrays that well. I don't think it's his most in-depth character. I like Celeste and Jesse Forever as his, like, serious role. More serious role. But I think what's great about Milioti is not only is she clearly a fantastic actress, she really matches his comedy level. And like sometimes like a lot of like guys may be like, oh, well, she's not going to be as funny as like a lead. I don't really like as many like female comedians as I like male comedians. And really for this, it's like I couldn't think of it that way because she's so goofy when she is given the opportunity to be that way. And I love at the end where they're going into the red light or whatever, and he's like, where do you want to go like on our first date when we get out of here? And she's like, your mom's house. He's like, oh god, this is a mistake. Your mom's a mistake. And it's just like she's really funny. I think that Andy Samberg is really funny in this movie whenever he explains what's going on, because he's so cavalier about it, as if like it wouldn't be. He's like, oh right, yeah, I could see why you're freaking out about that, but you know. Or when she says this one thing where she's like talks about how it might be karmic energy or whatever, and then he goes, well, I just gave a kid like $100 and I'm still here.
Yeah,
he gets it, and it's a little weird that
the
he's
burrito
not
scene where he's like, I just paid $100 for this burrito. So
no, he gets candy.
That paid $100 for this candy bar. So yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, and he is so funny that it like keeps me engaged, but I think she matches it and then brings it to a deeper level. I find it a little weird that he's not insane or irritable by the time that we get to him, but I think that has already passed. Like, he's already gone through that phase.
He's in the acceptance stage.
Yeah.
By the way, the 5 stages of grief are mostly BS, but you know, hey.
But in Groundhog Day, I think like that it is like they're really exploring that.
Yeah,
whereas this is not as much.
That's what they do. But yeah, if you're gonna like make that parallel, like Samberg is in the acceptance. Niles has moved past everything, where he almost seems like he's been in there 40 years before she even loops in.
I mean, I think she's only in the loop for like a year.
Yeah.
I love J.K. Simmons is really, he actually has this, like I rewatched the movie and he has more depth to his character than I thought. He has this
He's
like,
so well written.
he has this like really depressed look when he's chasing after Andy Samberg at the beginning, right when he's about to go back into the cave. He's like, he feels depraved for what he's doing. He has that great line where he's like, beautiful wife, beautiful kids, little Joey's watering dog shit. That's weird. But, beautiful. This movie also has an incredible side cast. Like, Peter Gallagher is amazing when he's like, this dentist glues teeth.
Yeah.
Tyler Hoechlin, at first I was like, why is he in this? He's not saying anything. And then he gets really funny when he's like crying in the shower.
Oh, the guy that plays Abe?
And then when he gets the fork in his... Yeah, he plays Abe.
Yeah.
He gets the fork in his face. It has June Squibb, who's an Academy Award nominee, like multiple times. And I'm going to get into Nana later. And then, like, the girlfriend is great, Meredith Hagner. And then the person who... the bartender is so funny. And she's from, like, The Daily Show and stuff.
Oh, is she really?
Yeah. She's great. She's like, it's not good wine. So I don't know. I'm giving it a 6 in comedies.
The
I actually
hand job scene in the car
is so
funny.
And then I think he died in this. That is an amazing scene too. So I'm gonna give it a 6 actually because I think that it goes a little deeper than a lot of comedies.
Ooh.
What about
what did you give Groundhog Day then?
Groundhog Day? I gave a 5.
What? Okay, tell me why.
So I think that Bill Murray is incredible in this. And at the end, Nick and I are going to rank our favorite Bill Murray movies. And this is like easily a top 5 movie for me for Bill Murray. I think he's so good. And it's really funny that he went into the role basically thinking of it as like a binary thing where he was either like he would cut the director off, Harold Ramis, whenever Harold Ramis was trying to explain the script, and he goes, just tell me good Phil or bad Phil.
Yeah.
And that's a funny way of doing it, and you can really see it, and he's got the range down really well in this. I just think
it's
that
a bit of an
there's
oversimplification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think the problem is the side performances are not that good, and they're a waste. Like, Chris Elliott, if you watch Schitt's Creek and you've seen like Scary Movie 2 and stuff, he's fucking hilarious. There's something about Mary. He's so good. He's not good in this. He didn't once make me laugh.
Really?
I thought he was awful in this. Andy McDowell is
he's
fine.
sort of miscast, but I think he's fine.
I just think he could have been goofier, like, or they could have had other wacky people. Like, the one performance that really stands out besides him is Stephen Tobolowsky, who plays Ned Ryerson.
Ned Ryerson.
Hey, Phil?
Ned the Head.
Yeah, Ned the Head. Ding! What's the disease he says he gets? It's a bing. But I think he's really great. He's a great side. He's a good character actor. But I don't think like a lot of the townspeople are good. None of them are like fantastic. I like the one drunk guy and Bill Murray's brother. I just think this is a movie that could have benefited from having more people around him. And I just think Andy McDowell's pretty fucking lame in this movie.
Did you know that is her actual accent? That's the voice that she speaks with normally?
Yeah, I can kind of see that now.
She's
Margaret
from North
Qualley,
Carolina.
I can't believe how much Margaret Qualley looks like
she
her
likes
mom,
mustard in her barbecue sauce.
Cool.
I do.
I do too.
Dude, Carolina barbecue sauce is the best barbecue sauce.
It is good.
Fight me if you think it's the fucking sweet stuff.
Ooh, I want to say this. We rewatched this. So I had known Michael Shannon was in this, but I forgot. But we were watching it, and you see him for a split second. Literally like
the back of his
split
head.
second, the side of it, like a little bit of the side of his face and the back of his head. And I just turned to Nick and I go, Michael Shannon, go back. Michael Shannon. And then we find out it's Michael Shannon's first movie. And then he's like ridiculous later.
I gave Groundhog Day a 6. Yeah, he is ridiculous because he's like, we're going to Pittsburgh. And wrestling or whatever. WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Murray, I mean, it's an iconic role. It's like perfect for him, and he nails it because it's basically just like what we think Bill Murray is. And like, it's really interesting that he nails it if you kind of know more of the backstory about what was going on behind.
Yeah, him and Harold Ramis didn't talk for like 20 years after this.
Yeah, and he was like going through a divorce and
yeah.
he was really anxious on set. And
He was basically like every night he would just like read the script a bunch and just like call Harold Ramis late at night asking him questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. It must have been really difficult to film this movie.
I mean,
And he still nails it. He still gives an iconic performance that's remembered forever. I really like Chris Elliott in his role. I don't really love Andy McDowell. And I turned to Gabe and I was like, what is the deal with her accent?
Yeah, her teeth are really yellow, too.
It turns out that that's just Andy McDowell's accent. Yeah. She's from North Carolina.
Oh, fail.
And she has like a drawl. So I gave it a 6.
No, I mean, that's fair. I would say this is one of those ones where I'm like, Bill Murray almost takes it to like a 7. But I just think, and I really love him in it, but I just really think it's held down by not having good enough supporting performances. And this is during it, like Harold Ramis was like a king for having movies with like a big ensemble cast that'd be funny, like Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
So no, I'm giving it a 5. I'm going to give it more credit later to our next category. Originality. Originality is where we talk about how creative the movie was, whether it needed to be made, whether it stands out in the genre. And like Groundhog Day is an absolute 7. There's out of 7. It's not possible to give it lower because, and this could go partially into legacy, but like so many movies have copied this because it's such a creative idea. There hadn't been a movie about this kind of time loop before.
Not a movie.
There are postdoctoral studies on it. There are Buddhist, it follows a lot of Buddhist principles. Harold Ramis originally wanted the movie to be like the 10,000 days in Buddhism that it takes to become like a complete human and a morally like conscious human. I mean, I really like the way that they break down the 5 stages of grief in the movie without even explaining that they're doing that.
Yeah, it's not explicit.
It's really, it's an incredibly clever script. I'm not left with a lot of questions, even though it's like if you think too hard about any of these type of movies, they don't work, and who cares? But like, I think it's really great that they never explain what the fuck's going on. I think that is super clever.
That is, like I said before, that is a huge reason why Groundhog Day is what it is now.
Yeah, because
I think if they explain anything, did you read some of the things that they initially thought they might do to like explain it? Oh, they were so, like the 2 that I read were so dumb. They would have been so lame. One was like he's just an a-hole, so he made like someone mad, and it just turns out like she was like a witch or something. And then the other one was like it was like an ex-lover that like hexed him. They both like had to do with
almost
magic.
like Scrooged. It's so similar to Scrooge and his performance in that, but like I love that it's just he's a fucking asshole. He's stuck in a really bad day.
Yeah, he's just a smarmy jerk,
but
and he
by the end,
deserves it.
it's like he's the type of person that needs to be changed. Whereas, like Andy Samberg maybe didn't need to be changed. He was just floating in life, but he wasn't like a bad person. It seems like.
So you gave it a 7, Groundhog Day.
I can't imagine why it would be lower. It's one of the most creative screenplays of all time.
All right, I gave it a 6.
Why?
I don't think that Harold Ramis, well, did he write it?
No.
I don't think the writer of it, whose name I don't know, came up with a unique idea. There are short stories. He even said, I was inspired by the short story.
But we have to base it off of this.
There are no movies, though. Yeah, and it is an original screenplay. Like, I was going to give it a 7, but then I read that he kind of got the idea from something else.
Yeah, but but if we're talking about how original the movie was, it's incredibly original. Nothing had been done before on that. And now, like, I can name you probably like 10 different projects that are based off of Groundhog Day.
Right.
Which I guess we could get into. You could save it for legacy if you want.
Well, that's what I did.
Okay.
I
do have one question.
Yes.
It's actually not even a question. I realize this. He bought all of that insurance on his last day. Well, he probably did it multiple times because once he started perfecting the day where he would save everyone and be like a good person, he also did that for Ned Ryerson. But he bought every single type of insurance from Ned Ryerson and then wakes up the next day and it's a normal day. He owes that guy probably like $100,000.
Oh man, I really hope he has a cancellation policy.
But he's not going to cancel it.
Ned the Head, dude.
Ned the Head.
Unagi.
Sure. Ned Ryerson.
He was thinking Ned Ryerson.
I mean, I gave it a 7. Nick gave it a 6. What about Palm Springs originality?
Yeah, I just wanted to say one more thing about Groundhog Day.
Yeah, of course.
I think that what we were talking about...
Go ahead. This is my podcast, but you can share.
What I'm going to give it credit for is the next two categories, and it's that there's like an interpretation. Like everyone has their own interpretation of this movie.
Sure.
And it depends on how many times you see it.
So you think the movie itself isn't as original as like how people interpret it?
Yes.
Okay.
Palm Springs does not have that same kind of quality to it. I mean, we're obviously doing it in comparison to a movie that came... Oh boy, almost 30 years before because I'm almost 30 and
Ew.
One of these movies came out like the year after I was born and the other one just came out now.
Yeah.
Like it's not that original, but it does bring new things to the table that Groundhog Day doesn't have that we kind of already talked about. And some of the jokes and the way that things are put together are original and not done all the time. And we don't get to see the type of chemistry that Andy Samberg and Cristin Milioti have in this movie very often. So that's a really original thing. All of those things combined are enough for me not to give this a 3, and I gave it a 4.
Interesting. So I agree. That's a really good point about the romance aspect of it. Obviously, this has been done many times before, as you said.
Yeah.
There's so many projects that did this, but I think it does add certain things in meaningful ways, not just adding just to add them.
Yes.
It's not as serious or dark as Groundhog Day in total. But I do think because you're missing a lot of the sections of the loop where he's really losing his mind and his his
which is a really cool thing that we already get him just like I don't care about
but you don't even get it with Cristin Milioti because she's just like she kind of is going into that but then she's like I'm determined to get out but it has some really good social drama in it, like the infidelity thing like kind of hits you halfway through and it's a really good drop. With the bride's husband the night before the wedding sleeps with her sister. Yeah. And she has to wake up in that bed every single day. Yep. It has a lot of like life.
Man, those breadcrumbs they drop. Sorry, those breadcrumbs they drop for that are really good.
Yeah, it's really great. And I love that it keeps coming back to like Ocean Spray by Fournier or whatever. It's really funny. It's a good joke that only Andy Samberg would like kill it with.
Yeah.
I really like the speech by Niles when they're being arrested, where he explains like, yeah, we still feel pain, and what we do to people still happens. He's like, I've gone down that road. I've hurt people and stuff. It doesn't feel good. It's not worth it. It's not helpful. His like, and there's one moment in Groundhog Day when they do that, and it's when they show his body after he's died, and Andy McDowell and Chris Elliott have to go and see the body. I said to Nick, I was like, oh, they put that in there to show how this actually affects them. Like him killing himself is going to affect them, regardless of if it's a loop. Roy's realization about his life and the perspective that Niles never had of him and why he's so angry is really well handled, I think. Yeah. I have a question. Is Nana like in the loop, or is she like the master of the loop? Because she gives this really cryptic thing. She says this really cryptic thing to Cristin Milioti before she goes. She's like, well, you best be on your way now, or like something like this. And she's like talking about all these life things. And I'm thinking, is she in on this loop? And I know that there's a lot of people thinking about that now. I am really left with some more questions with this movie, but I'm really glad that you have to stay until the post credits. It's very quick, But we were all like, wait, what about Roy? This guy's life gets fucking ruined. And then they give you like a really funny
I'm going to
ending
up
for
it
him.
to a 5.
Yeah, I gave it a 5. I think I have a question though about both of these.
Yeah.
Since your brain and body are like rebooting every day, could you actually be, I mean, like, I want this from your perspective as a counselor, therapist, psychologist,
Physicist, superhero.
Porn star.
What?
I don't know.
How did you know?
Could you fully lose your mind
you find
if
me
your
on
brain
P-Hub?
and your body were like rebooting every day to back to a healthy state? Could that carry over? Could you develop like brain issues and become insane?
Yeah, you definitely. I mean, yeah, you'd be like broken, probably.
But could you become like clinically insane? Like, how does that even? I don't even understand how this works. If your brain reboots, like, how could you have the same?
Well, Cristin Milioti explains it at the end, but also they had a physicist who, the physicist that Cristin Milioti at the end of this movie is talking to on like Zoom or Skype or whatever, is actually a professor of like physics at Berkeley or something.
Yeah.
And he consults. No, USC or UCLA. He consults on a lot of movies.
Good California school.
Yeah, one of the ones in LA though, because he consults for like a bunch of Hollywood productions. Nope, they're here for me. I don't. Well, the way that it's explained though is like their consciousness.
Okay, go to the next street.
Their consciousness is reset back into their like their physical form. Like doesn't regenerate or anything.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, because they're ruminating in their thoughts. I just don't know if you could ever become like mentally ill.
Yeah,
from it.
absolutely. It's surprising that, and just a machination of a movie that Andy Samberg hasn't already lost his damn mind.
Yeah, I also thought about this. I was saying, like, it's kind of sad that Niles, after all this, like, didn't really gain anything from his time. Like, we're gonna come out of
he got like a
quarantine and
girlfriend.
yeah,
That's it.
he like maybe became like a better person. He has more like patience probably, and he's
Yeah.
good at darts. But like Phil in Groundhog Day, like becomes a complete person. Like he becomes a better person. He's very, very good at piano.
Yeah,
He's
you sort of
figured out a
assume
lot.
that he's
read a lot of French poetry and books and everything.
Yeah, the poem he reads is great.
There's one last thing for Palm Springs. There's just like a lot of close attention to details and stuff in the comedy and story. So I do think
That's
it's
why I'm
above
going to give
average.
it a 5.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to
it loves it. It's genuinely appreciates the creators of it genuinely appreciated what they were doing and obviously spent a lot of time trying to make a movie that wasn't just an Andy Samberg vehicle.
yeah.
It's like a very, very good movie for right now too.
Yeah, I totally
anyways.
agree with that. Let's do our next category, which is legacy. And when we talk about legacy with comedies, we're kind of talking about like how this movie will age, how it has aged, what is its lasting legacy in terms of all movies and its genre, like how it stands out over time. Sort of the things of like how it passes over time, which the movies don't. In their plots. I guess I could go quickly with Palm Springs. I think I'm going to give it like a 3. I'm making
Fair
this
enough.
up on the spot, but I just think like it just came out on Hulu. I think it's the best Hulu original movie so far that I've liked. I mean, it's too late now. The ambulance is already gone. It is. So Nick closed the window, so
was
you
saying
guys ain't
that-
gonna hear any more emergency sounds.
This is an auditory medium, you fool. Is it a Hulu original though?
I mean, yeah, like nothing is like some things are actual Netflix originals and stuff, and some things were just bought by Netflix. But if it comes out on Hulu and it says
Is it
Hulu original on
is
it,
it
it's called a
referred to?
Hulu
Oh, okay.
original. So yeah, no, it wasn't produced by them or anything. It was just after the fact they
They just
distributed
bought it for a bunch of
They're
money.
distributors. Like A24 is a distributor as
Yeah.
well. But they do
paid
more of the
a
production.
lot of money.
Yeah.
one of the higher grossing Sundance films.
Which I could see because when people, I mean, it's a really good crowd pleaser, and I think I'll get into it in rewatchability, but like I do think like it will have a certain legacy of being like, hey, this is one of those movies you should just watch on Hulu. It's one that I'll recommend to a lot of people. I don't think it adds too much to the whole like Groundhog Day story. I also don't really think there's anything that's going to age poorly. I think it's like pretty safe, like political correctness wise, which is just a dumb term.
Unless a bunch of people start getting stuck in time loops.
Yeah, I think this is true.
Unless we
that won't age
discover,
well.
a quantum loop.
I think I mean that would suck. I think someone like Cristin Milioti is really going to benefit from this movie.
Yeah.
Like she was the mother. Sorry to spoil this for everyone, but she's the titular mother in How I Met Your Mother, and she was really good. And then she was like she had side performances in movies like Wolf of Wall Street, and I think she has proven she is a great lead performer. And she should be in much more. And I think that'll be a lasting legacy.
Yeah, she's crowd pleaser.
What did you give it for legacy?
I gave it a 4 because the verdict is still out. Like it
got good reviews.
So great it is a blessing to have this movie come out mid fucking global pandemic. Actually, it's basically just the United States now, and we're the only ones really suffering at this point. Actually, there's a lot of people suffering. I'm sorry for everyone who's lost a family member.
Yeah.
Or a loved one. It is
all right. Cut the tape.
A 93 on Rotten Tomatoes and an 84 on Metacritic. Like
that's way higher than Groundhog Day.
Is it really?
Metacritic.
I didn't even look it up because I assumed
But Metacritic
it was
is actually pretty harsh to older comedies, which is
that's
weird.
Interesting. It's like
because it's an aggregate.
It's just like such a nice movie, and I hope that I have recommended it to everyone I know that like watches movies, and I hope you do too, and I hope you go and watch it because it is fun and really nice, and it's about an hour and a half that you'll forget that you're living in hell.
Yeah, and I think actually a lot of people, like all my friends watched it the first weekend, just like us, and I've had people try to recommend it to me, multiple people, and I'm like, bitch, I watched that first night. I think it's just going to be like a highly recommended movie, and so I'm giving it.
I regret not going to that drive-in and seeing it.
Yeah, it would have been really cool. Day after 4th of July, which is called the 5th of July. Let's talk about legacy for Groundhog Day. So for you, this is where you're giving it the more credit, right?
Yeah, I gave it a 7. It's one of the most beloved movies of all time, maybe top 100 ever. It didn't win anything, but it did win a BAFTA for original screenplay. I don't know what BAFTA stands for though.
British Academy Film
Theater and Art.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Film, theater, and apples.
Do you know how fucking racist BAFTA is?
No.
It's how racist is it, Gabe? It's so racist that Denzel Washington has never ever been nominated for an acting award by BAFTA. He's been nominated for like 7 awards in the Academy Awards. I mean, like, regardless of what you think about Denzel Washington, he's an incredible actor, and he's been in performances where he was clearly one of the best of the year.
Who thinks ill of Denzel?
I don't know, man. BAFTA has had a lot of issues with this. Well, sorry to all of our British listeners.
Well,
you know what you did.
They seem to like Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
It is an unmistakably amazing movie that has embedded itself in the psyche of everyone who has seen it. It's like a whole thing. It's a whole thing. It spawned the title of the film in Germany is slightly different because they don't have a Groundhog Day because they're smart and they don't listen to large squirrels trying to predict the weather. But the name of the movie in Germany is actually now like a colloquialism.
Guftenschlagen.
No. It's like the day after the Groundhog or something like that. The name of the movie in German is now a colloquialism in Germany.
Oh, cool.
Meaning that things seem very repetitive today.
Yeah, like a deja vu type thing. That's really cool.
Like it's embedded in the psyche of the world. Like it's just one of those movies. It has to be a 7 in this category.
Yeah, I gave it a 7. I gave it a 7. This is one of the movies I grew up with. This is one of my Hey mom. This is one of my mom's favorite movies of all time. I've probably seen it like I don't know, like 30 times or something. It feels older. I will say it does feel older than it is. It came out in the 90s. It does feel like an 80s movie, but I think it's aged kind of well over time because of Bill Murray. We refer to like time loop movies as Groundhog Day movies now. And there's been so many. I mean, this is where I would talk about it. Like there's been like Russian Doll, Edge of Tomorrow. There were like 3 movies on Netflix that were like romances where they just repeat the same day. Then you get fucking
They're
Palm
all
Springs.
great.
None of them. It's just an absolute classic for a lot of people. Even if you don't rewatch it often, like a lot of people just would be like, yeah, I love Groundhog Day. It's in the National Film Registry. It's Issa Rae's favorite comedy. That's huge.
Wow.
It made $70 million off a $14.5 million budget. That's huge. I don't really think it's going to age poorly. I do think like his behavior with women is not good. He has like a baby, it's cold outside scene.
Yeah, he really does.
But I don't think that the movie is trying to play it off like it's okay. Like Animal House and stuff, like it has aged so poorly in its treatment of women. But like, with this, it's like, no, he's a piece of shit. And you, not only should you pity him, you should also like despise him early on.
Yeah, he is not a likable person.
I just think regardless of how much we love like movies, like I really, really love Edge of Tomorrow. And I think Palm Springs is going to be one of my favorite comedies of this decade. We're just starting it, but I think this is one of the ones I'll rewatch over and over again. I'm still always going to be like Groundhog Day, started all of this. And Groundhog Day is the movie that we as a society would talk about. So it's a 7 out of 7.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our last category, quotability/rewatchability. With comedies, generally a comedy is a little bit better if it's pretty quotable, that it can like the quotes of the movie seep into conversations with your friends, and over time everyone says it or they say a line and you automatically know what movie it is. Now we have that in the form of GIFs, but it's the same thing. And the rewatchability, I don't think every movie needs to be rewatchable, but I think comedies should, because you should want to go back to a place of joy. Groundhog Day is tough because I've rewatched it a lot, and there are a lot of people who rewatch it and analyze it, like painstakingly analyze it, which I think you mentioned earlier, right? And I don't think it's like, I think there is a generation of people that quote this movie often. I don't think I quote this movie that often, but I do, like, if someone went, Phil, I would know that it's from this movie. I love some of the quote. Yeah, everything from Ned Ryerson is like very memorable. Some of the speeches that he gives are really memorable when he's in front of the camera for Groundhog Day. I love when he goes, she's like, are you planning on checking out today? He's like, looks like departure is going to be at about 100%. And then the next day he's like, looks like departure is going to be at about 80%. 75. No, 80%. And he heads out. At sunset, we made love like sea otters. That was a pretty good day. Why couldn't I have that day? Like a lot of people, I've heard like adults, like older, I know we're adults now, but I've heard like older people quote that very often. What do you say? What do you say? He has literally never thanked me. All right. See you tomorrow. Maybe. When he like catches the kid.
That kid is in the hospital in this in the scene where he is unable to save the homeless man.
Oh, the kid's back in.
The kid is in the back with a cast.
That's funny.
Like rolling around.
Yeah, I was wondering. Oh, I'm glad that that's in there because I thought the kid maybe died every day until he started catching him.
No, he just breaks his leg.
The other guy might have died.
He falls, he gets hit by a car, and then he falls in love with the man who hit him with the car's daughter.
Yeah. Right. We laughed pretty hard when he's doing the piano lessons, and she's like, Phil, is this your first time playing piano? He's like, yes, but my father was a piano mover.
Yeah. Such a Bill Murray line.
It's so good. I love when he's talking about, he's like, I want so many he's like going overboard with her on the dates, which we didn't even talk about. The sequence where he has to keep redoing the date every time he even slightly messes up to make it a perfect one.
Psycho. Dude.
He's a psycho, but Bill Simmons kind of explained it well, where he's like, have you ever wondered what it would take to have the absolute perfect date? And you'd have to like go through all this. But it is, the editing comedy wise is really funny once it starts being like, oh, I made one little mistake, and then all of a sudden the scene repeats, and it's a good piece of comedy. But there's that one part where she says she wants kids, and he says, I don't want them. And then in the next date, he's like, I want so many kids. I want to adopt kids. And then the kids start throwing snowballs at him, and he goes, are any of you adoptable?
Apparently his like wigging out in that is because
they were pelting him.
Harold Ramis was like, throw him as hard as you can, children.
And he was throwing him as hard as he could too, back at them. I don't know. What do you think about quotability / rewatchability?
So I don't know how like monstrously quotable Groundhog Day is. Like there aren't any quotes that have like seeped into the like collective vernacular. But it is endlessly rewatchable. Like as soon as we finished it, this is the first time I've seen it because I'm stupid. I immediately was like, damn it, I need to see this again, like now.
Yeah.
Like even today I was like, should I just watch it? I probably would have been more productive today if I had, because I didn't do anything today. But
if you had watched it,
if I had it, I would have been more productive, because then I could at least say I watched this twice.
I've seen it a lot.
It's like, it has so many details. There's so much nuance to Groundhog Day. It's been like embraced by like at least 3 different religions. Like it's just like, even if it's not ultra quotable, it still has to be a 7 for me.
Yeah, and I think like for a lot of people, it's quotable. I think it's just quotable for people older than us. I'm sure a lot of people say some of the quotes like, "It's pitiful" or whatever. It's just really brought up by him, so I think like that. I rewatch it now because I'm wondering how long he's in the loop.
Right, and then there's that whole aspect.
I mean, Harold Ramis says it's only 10 years. He
said
masters
that at
piano
first, and then he changed his answer
because he heard everyone else.
There are 3 different like major website like researchers
that like break down
that
how
have broken down, and one, it ranges anywhere from like 12 to 35 years.
Well, yeah, I mean, it has to be a lot when I think about it, because we were watching the scene where he's in the diner and he's taking her around to like introduce her to every single person in there to prove that he knows everything. Yeah. He would have had to spend a full day for each of them, and he would have had to do that multiple times to be able to remember everything about them.
Yeah, and he would have had to
he times out everything.
He would have had to have had multiple days before that where he was like, what am I going to do? And then had the idea, oh, I'll just spend the next 2 months learning the names of every single person in this diner. Right. And spending 1 full day with each of them. Right. Which is just like an insane thing to do. But yeah, he's in there for, I mean, it has to be at least like 35 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking it's more like 50 plus years because of like how he masters the piano and everything. But I mean, that's the thing. You could keep rewatching this movie and now it has that edge to it. It's like how I now rewatch Ferris Bueller thinking about like the what if Ferris is in Cameron's head. And it's fascinating to rewatch the movie thinking that. It's not true, but it works.
It's awesome though.
I'm going to give it a 6.
Weird. What?
I just don't think like it's tough with a lot of these kind of comedies about rewatching and quotability, and it hasn't seeped into my conversations. And we've done other comedies where I'm like, I quote these comedies. We did Austin Powers, MacGruber, and Step Brothers. I've quoted those like
that's
almost
true.
And Superbad.
I had to give it the rewatchable thing, but you know, hey.
Yeah, I mean that's the 6 is actually the rewatchable level. I actually wanted to give it a 4.
You're a hypocrite, all of you. What?
I want to give it a 4 in terms of quotability, but rewatchability, it's like a 7 for me, 6 or 7.
8.
So I brought it down. Yeah, well, you never even seen it, you dummy. Let's go on to Palm Springs, quotability / rewatchability. I think this is going to end up being a pretty quotable movie once everyone rewatches it. Because I just rewatched it like a week after we had seen it. Because it just came out a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it came out on the 9th, July
Yeah.
9th, 2020.
I love the part where he's like, I thought I smelled you, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
To Roy. Like, I would say that often. I love when she comes in one of the first times and his girlfriend's like, oh my God, are you cheating on me? And he goes, no, you
you don't."
goof. You're cheating on me.
Oh my God, she is so good in that.
She's great in that scene, Meredith Agner. I love, there's this one guy I pointed out to Nick named Connor O'Malley who has this absurd Instagram page. He just does really wacky shit.
Yeah.
But if you rewatch the movie, he goes to 100 multiple times in the movie. When the earthquake happens at the wedding and everyone has to like hold him because I think he's a military vet or whatever. He's like, no, I should have never left the Great Lakes. You brought me to a place of hell or something. One thing that I think will get quoted a lot is how many times they say Misty's boyfriend.
Oh
Where
yeah.
he's like, Misty's boyfriend. And then Tyler Hoechlin or whatever is, he's like, you in on this, Misty's boyfriend? All right, Misty's boyfriend is asleep. He's not in on the line of coke. We're already sick of each other. It's the best.
Yeah.
That's a good line.
That is a really good line. It is. I think it's evenly quotable and rewatchable, and I gave it a 5.
Yeah.
It's just so fun and so short, and it's like, again, I can't stress this enough, just such a great movie to just be able to watch now that's new, and was like a nice little like glint of happiness.
Yeah.
In the midst of a dark, dark time.
I wonder if people are going to... That's good. I wonder if people are going to quote the last thing that he says where he's like, she's like, that's more than one sentence. And he goes, comma, and then moves on. But he even says ampersand at one point. And then when he gets to the end, he's like, emphatic period. She's like, that was a grammatical nightmare. An emphatic period is just an exclamation point. He's like, I didn't want to sound desperate.
Yeah, which is so good.
That's a great line. I love when they're in the pool and he's explaining how he has a dog. And she's like, you have a dog? What kind of dog is it? And he's like, he's one of them shaggy dogs. She's like, he's one of them shaggy dogs. Come on. Let's see if we blow up and die. I just think I've already this movie came out on the 9th. I've already rewatched it. I could see this being one of those ones
rewatched it because we do a podcast about watching movies.
Yeah, but I can already, like, I've rewatched the movie Take Me Home Tonight, like 15 times.
Way better than that movie.
No, but like that's a really rewatchable movie to me. I love rewatching that. I think I'm going to end up rewatching this a lot. 6.
All right.
I think I'm going to end up quoting it a lot too.
All right, so that brings us to the end.
Did you add mine up? Because I didn't.
I did, dude. I'm not an idiot. What do you think I've been doing this
You're
whole
pretty
time?
freaking stupid, dude.
I actually do appear to have left one thing off of this. Oh, that's obvious. There we go.
I gave way higher ratings than you for Palm Springs, which I was surprised by.
That was very surprising. 61 to 51.
Which won?
Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day wins 61 out of 75 to 51 out of 75.
Yay!
That's pretty good for comedies. 51 is a little low, but I think like Palm Springs might just like increase over time.
Well, it's Legacy. You gave
just
it a
came out.
below average rating for Legacy.
Yeah, I
we
had
just
to.
don't know.
Yeah.
Should have a high Legacy. All right, what are we going to do first?
Let us.
Bill Murray
So we're
movies?
going to do accolades right now. And normally we just like break down some awards and we can give those out pretty quickly if you want. Or we can break down our top 5 favorite Bill Murray movies. And
let's
then
do the MVP. Let's do the accolades.
Okay.
Then we'll do the movies.
Who won these movies?
The MVP?
Yeah. I mean, if it had to go to one person, I'd give it to Bill Murray because he carries his own movie.
Yeah.
But the MVP is really just like time loop movies because there are a lot of them and they're all like pretty fun.
Yeah, I think it has to go Murray here, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. I almost want to give it to Harold Ramis. I thought it was like a really good comedy directing job. He has a crazy legacy.
Who's the LVP?
LVP? I mean, the sister of Sarah in Palm Springs.
Oh my God, yeah.
They don't even settle that in the end. Like, I mean, maybe she'll get to it at some point, but like, her husband's a piece of dirt.
Yeah, Abe sucks.
Yeah.
And she seems like a nice lady.
Yeah, she's a cool actress too. She's in a lot of like interviews about the show, and she's fun. She's
That's
like from
weird.
Riverdale and stuff.
Because she's like barely in it.
What about your all-star team? Like, pick 5 performances.
Easy.
Yeah,
Murray, Samberg, Milioti, Simmons, and I put Chris Elliott.
Murray, Samberg, Milioti, Simmons, and then Connor O'Malley.
Weird.
And I'm also going to give 6th man, the person who did the most of the least, to Connor O'Malley.
Wait, screw Chris Elliott. I'm giving it to Phil the Groundhog. Did you know that they raised a family of groundhogs just for the movie Groundhog
Do you know
Day?
that Bill Murray got bit twice by the groundhog?
Yeah, he had to get shot.
Rabies shot,
He had to get
yeah.
a rabies booster.
That's pretty sick. I want a rabies booster.
Dude,
Boost up my rabies levels.
where are they now? All the groundhogs that they raised for Groundhog Day. Dead. The answer's dead. Eaten. We ate them all.
We ate edible. I mean, eatable. I mean, you could literally eat all the groundhogs in the world.
Groundhog. We had groundhog tacos. Right.
Do you have a 6th man, person who did the most of the least?
Ned Ryerson.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna give it to him too.
you
He's
have
so
before?
great. I'd Connor O'Malley because he's really in
You're a
so
boner for
little.
this guy, dude.
Dude, he's so funny in this movie. When you rewatch it, you'll notice how absolutely ridiculous he is. When he's like, "Can we call the cops? I don't feel safe around this guy." He has like such a great
line.
scene later too. He says something to her. He's like, not until you get drunker or whatever. And she's like, "You can't say that to me, guy." He's like, "Fuck you." And then does like the little dance with his shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, he's funny. Do you have comeback player of the year? Someone performance that grew on you?
Andy McDowell. Like, she's fine by the end of this movie, but at the beginning I was like, what is her deal with that accent?
I actually think it's like J.K. Simmons because of the way that they present him. He's so funny at first and like evil, but they really like give him depth when you go to Irvine.
Yeah, that's true.
And then he shoots him in the garbage can with the bow and arrow.
I have a small pet peeve, by the way.
Can you go? You're freaking out my wife.
Yeah. Yeah,
like
dude,
hiding in the
I think
window.
you gotta go.
Yeah. He's like, can you
She's
just
gonna
kill
draw
me?
She's gonna draw me later.
Hey,
I'm
can you just kill me one last
cuddly
time?
Teddy bear.
He just like gets silent and he goes, just like to beat the traffic. It's a long way back.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. All right. Do we? Let's get into our top 5 Bill Murray movies.
All right, I was trying to find the text I sent you with my list, so I'm just gonna try and freeball it.
admittedly, Nick has not seen a lot of Bill Murray movies where
Yeah.
where he's the star.
Yes,
But you've seen a
I've
lot
seen
where
plenty
he's
of
been
movies
supporting.
with Bill Murray in them.
So you can count
We are
those.
not counting those. Are we counting?
No, you
those?
can count. He has to be a big enough character. He can't be like Space Jam is not really a Bill Murray movie.
Okay, well, my number one was Space Jam. So
That's not even a good movie. Have you rewatched Space Jam? It is a bad movie.
no, of course it's a bad movie.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be number 1, right?
There is a great part with Bill Murray in Space Jam after Michael Jordan goes down the hole.
Yeah, the
Where
golf
he's
hole or
like-
whatever.
No, I guess it's it's Bill Murray and Newman from
What's that guy's name?
Seinfeld,
It's gonna kill me, dude.
and they're both
always
like
forget his name.
Mike. Yeah, Mike. Whenever you're ready, man. Yeah, whenever you're ready to come back up, it's all good. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a couple. I
that
don't know.
is a pretty funny scene. All right, why don't
all
you give any order you want?
Let's do. Does Saturday Night Live count as a movie? Because it's not.
No, I think you could count that because like he carried after Chevy Chase left, like he carried
He
SNL
was
for
huge
2
on SNL.
seasons.
He was
Yeah.
on. He was like in every sketch.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go Caddyshack, Ghostbusters, SNL, Space Jam. Every time he shows up on a jumbotron at Wrigley Field,
It is pretty funny when he does.
or shows
He's
up at
just
a party.
Yeah, or, like,
someone
crashes
in
a wedding
Chicago
or something.
Crashes a wedding. Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, he's crazy.
All of those appearances.
I wanna
trump
golf
every
with him.
movie he's in.
All right, I go, and I know you hate this, but just fuck yourself, okay? My number 1 is Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou.
Hate that movie.
You haven't rewatch it.
I've seen it twice.
It
I
is
don't
so
like it.
good. But he is incredible in that movie.
Hands down, least favorite Wes Anderson movie. If I could,
What are you talking about?
it's
You
my
like
least
Bottle
favorite.
Rocket more than that movie.
I don't know that I've seen Bottle Rocket.
You like Darjeeling Limited more than that movie.
Yes.
That is hoo-ha. That is hoo-ha. Okay? My number one is Life Aquatic. It's my third favorite movie of all time. Groundhog Day, number 2. So it's up there. What About Bob? Amazing. Like Bill Murray performance-wise, he's just off the rails in that movie and so awesome. Lost in Translation, probably his best acting. And then Rushmore, second best acting.
Yeah.
He's great in Rushmore.
I mean-
I also have I want to give honorable mentions. If you guys haven't seen these, Scrooged is amazing. Kingpin is amazing.
Scrooged is really good.
Have you seen Kingpin?
Scrooged. No, I haven't seen Kingpin.
You would love Kingpin. It's him and Randy
I loved
Quaid.
Scrooged when I was a kid.
Yeah, Scrooge is great. And Woody Harrelson, I think, is in Kingpin. Ghostbusters, obviously. Broken Flowers is really good. Stripes, Caddyshack, and Charlie's Angels. He's great as Bosley in Charlie's Angels.
That's funny. If I had to make a serious list, it would be let's go Caddyshack, Groundhog Day, Ghostbusters, Rushmore, and I am blanking on what I put as number 5.
Scrooged?
Scrooged.
Nice. That's a great
Scrooged.
list. Yeah, Rushmore is so good. I love that movie, and he's great in it. All right, without jinxing ourselves, how long do you think you can make it in a time loop?
Depends on the day.
Okay, so do good day and I was saying this to Nick. I would rather be stuck in a bad day, like I had a bad day and then I was stuck in that, like what happens in Groundhog Day, than a really good day. Like he says, "Oh, I had this amazing time in the Virgin Islands and I had sex with this woman all night, like, and we drank a bunch." You would end up making that day not be great.
Yeah.
If you start with something good, you can make a bad day into something
It's got to be a
good.
day where you've got like nothing going on. Like if I repeated today, for instance.
But you could just cancel all your plans.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you'd have no repercussions. Yeah, but then you'd have to like spend time canceling stuff.
Yeah. You look like Ben Winshaw right now, the guy who plays Q in the new James Bond movies.
Why?
Because your hair and your glasses.
Oh.
It looks funny. He looks like Ben Winshaw. Google Ben Winshaw. You'll notice that Nick looks exactly like him.
Oh, look at that. That's funny. There's a mirror right next to
All
me.
right. How many days? In a bad day.
In a bad day?
Like a cold day.
What do you mean, how many days would I last? I don't have a choice.
No, I know. But like how long do you think you would go before you would fully crack? I mean, realistically, I would crack at 2 days.
Yeah, which is what Bill Murray kind of does. It's where he's like, I'm not living by their rules.
He punches Ned Ryerson on like the 3rd day,
Yeah.
and then he does the I'm not living by any rules on like the 4th day.
Yeah. He loses it in less than a week.
Cristin Milioti also loses it super quickly.
Yeah, that's true. Because it would be quite jarring.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know. Like a month.
Yeah, same. I don't think I can go past a month.
After a month, the novelty would wear off, and I'd be like, what the...
I couldn't do it.
What am I
I'm like,
supposed to
I need new. This is why I watch so many movies and stuff. Like, I need new ideas and shit in my life, new forms of entertainment. I guess I could watch just so many movies
All
during
of the
that.
movies.
I could watch every movie.
single movie ever made.
Yeah.
Nosferatu, you'd watch it 50
I would
times.
drink a lot because you would never get a
it appears
hangover.
in both of these movies that there's no hangovers.
Well, you can't because your brain regenerates the next day. This
I
is what I'm
wonder
saying.
if Bill Murray, because they talk about this in the rewatchables. I know we should probably end our podcast, but
No, keep going.
he probably tried to stay up until 6:01, and then I wonder if he just like woke up
Yeah.
and was like, damn it, I don't even need to sleep. And then maybe that's how he learned how to play piano.
Oh, true.
He just learned that he didn't have to sleep.
He feels fully rested the next
Do you
day.
wake up fully rested?
That's a really good point. I never noticed.
It
I think
appears
that's what
that
it is.
Andy Samberg does because he just drinks all the time. But
Yeah.
then the next day he's still able to do stuff. He wouldn't be able to do it.
It's funny because Andy Samberg's thing is more like, I decided I'm not even going to like let anything bother me.
Yeah.
It's not even like I'm just going to, he's not at Phil's level where Phil's like, I'm going to eat all this and live my life. Andy Samberg's more like, I'm so defeated from this. It's so much better to just be peaceful about it. Like, free love, baby. These are fantastic mushrooms. Okay. Do you have any recommendations of things people should watch?
Oof. We're running out of time.
Rushmore.
Yeah, Russian Doll is great.
I highly recommend it. I think you should finish it. Russian Doll is a really good show.
Yeah, okay.
I'm telling you, I didn't like the
That was
first
Natasha
episode.
Lyonne?
Yeah, I didn't like the first episode. I don't like her. It gets really good, and another person is in the loop with her at some point, and that's it. Like, I have to tell you that to get you into it, because it becomes great when that person's in it. You can follow us on social media. Meow, 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 meow. We are on Instagram, instagram.com/facingoffpod. Ooh, yeah. Just look up Facing Off and you'll find us. You could also find us on Twitter, twitter.com/facingoffpod. Are you looking up celebrity news? Are you looking up all the horrible stuff that's going on in the world? Why don't you follow us on Twitter and get to know the real us? Twitter.com/facingoffpod. One more time. And send us emails. We didn't get an email. That's okay. It was a weird week. I didn't really ask for any emails. But send us emails. Let us know what you think, like how you broke down these movies. If you think Groundhog Day is just a pile of garbage and you didn't understand the hype,
you're wrong.
let us know, and we will find you and berate you and kill you. No, we won't do that. But send us an email, facingoffpodcast@gmail.com. Nick, next week we're going to do a special episode with my buddies Carter and Clay.
It's gonna be
Haven't figured out what. It's either going to be Ex Machina versus Splice, or Whiplash versus Black Swan, or Dealer's Choice. That doesn't apply. Nick, do you have a send-off?
Yeah, the poem that Bill Murray recites.
Yeah, go ahead.
It.
Do it.
The poem he recites in French translates to English as a very beautiful little poem, or at least the snippet that he says. It's also very relevant to the movie. The girl that I will love will be like a fine wine that will become better a bit every morning.
I should have never left the Great Lakes. This place is a nightmare.